I find this interesting. So the link that I got is actually a pre-order from the Super 7 store. And for folks that are not aware, they are doing another G.I. Joe series, but this is from Super 7 as opposed, it's from Hasbro. Hasbro has been doing the Classified series, I think is what it's called, right? Does that sound right? The G.I. Joe Classified, which has been quite controversial, honestly. There's a lot of hardcore fans that have not been happy with the Hasbro line at all. They're not happy with the selection of characters. They're not happy with sort of the versions that they're doing. There's all sorts of issues that people have been having with that particular line. But and I'll be honest, there's a lot of people that have lots of issues with Super 7. There's a lot of people that have issues with Super 7. And I'll show you my issue with Super 7 as we get into this. And Dave and I have talked about this before too. So this is G.I. Joe Ultimates. This is the Wave 1. It says, real American heroes deserve real awesome collectibles. Super 7 is proud to announce the debut of the cartoon-inspired G.I. Joe Ultimates collection. These made-to-order, highly articulated, deluxe 7-inch scale figures highlight some of the most memorable characters from G.I. Joe, a real American hero. Duke, Snake Eyes, Cobra Commander, and the Cobra Bat. Ultimates. These figures all come with a variety of interchangeable parts and accessories no G.I. Joe fan or collector will want to be without. They are available to pre-order until August 16th, so that's 1 month, and they are expected to deliver to you by spring 2022. Okay? Now you know, and knowing is half the battle. So this is what everyone wants to see is the pictures, right?
Yeah.
So I think these things look pretty amazing. That I have to say that I think that these figures look pretty darn amazing. They're very like cartoon accurate. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that except they look fantastic.
Yeah, I think they look pretty incredible. The Snake Eyes alone, I mean, when I saw that Snake Eyes, I was just like, oh man, I really, really want to own that. And it comes with timber, and it looks great. And I love too. It's like it's cartoon accurate, even with the weapons. They've got like the rifle that everybody used, like the generic rifle that everybody had. Of course, Snake Eyes has got the jetpack because he had the jetpack actually from the opening credits where he's zooming around on the jetpack, and it looks really great. Although I think probably Duke should have the jetpack now that I think about it. But anyhow, it looks really great. They look incredible. I find their selection a little weird because I can't. I mean, when I think of classic G.I. Joe, like I'm thinking, shouldn't that be Destro with Cobra Commander?
Yeah, the Bat is an interesting choice. Now, I don't necessarily think it's a bad choice. I do like the Bat. I've always thought the Bat was really an interesting thing. Actually, from the comics is where I really enjoyed the Bat. There's an awesome, from the original Marvel comic books. There's this awesome storyline where the Bats destroy the G.I. Joe headquarters. The Bats in the comic books were much more terrifying and ferocious than the cartoon. The cartoon version of the Bats was kind of pathetic. It was just something that they could blow up and they could actually kill because in G.I. Joe, they didn't like to kill in the cartoon. Right. They kill in the comic books, but they didn't like to kill in it's like even when it was a helicopter, you would see someone eject out of it, which, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You have an ejector seat out of a helicopter. Not sure if you people understand that doesn't work. You'd get chewed up by the blades, but they did that in G.I. Joe nonetheless. It is an odd selection for the Bat, I will say that. But at the same time, I always liked them, so I thought they were really cool. What's interesting to me is like from a play perspective, which of course these things are not meant to be played with. In fact, Super 7 gets criticized all the time that their stuff is of actually questionable quality sometimes. I know there's a lot of collectors that have talked about how things break on a lot of Super 7 toys fairly easily. And they get really, really frustrated by that because they're not really meant to be played with. They're meant to be collectibles and they're meant to be displayed. But if it was an actual toy, it would kind of make sense because you can, have as many bats as you want, right? They're build a big Cobra army with a bunch of bats. So yeah, I will say that is an odd selection in my mind that they went with the Bat. But Cobra Commander definitely is a no-brainer, and I think he looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like I understand Duke, I understand Snake Eyes. I mean, Snake Eyes is one of the most popular characters from GI Joe. You know, Duke was really popular. He's the leader. That makes sense. Cobra Commander, great choice. I mean, one of the most iconic of all the Cobra characters for sure. But then when I saw they picked the Bat, because when you talk about the animated series, I don't think the Bat was season 2, but I just remember the Bat coming along much later.
He did come much later in the series.
I mean, just imagine if they'd done, you know, even Storm Shadow. You know, then you'd have Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, unless they're saving Storm Shadow for another wave, you know, to get people to buy that wave 2. So Storm Shadow comes in wave 2. But also too, when I started thinking about, like, I always liked Major Blood. You know, Major Blood didn't have a huge role in the cartoon, but I always liked Major Blood. I mean, but to me, the one that would have made the most sense would have been Destro.
Yeah, Destro would have made a lot of sense, and Storm Shadow obviously would have made a lot of sense. But I do want to mention, like, David Motz has a comment here where he says that's a long wait. Now that's one issue that I have with a lot of these things is these constant pre-orders. We were going to talk a little bit about the Silverhawks line, you know, that's been announced, and we decided basically not to. That we're kind of waiting a little bit on Silverhawks. It's the same kind of thing. It's like how long are you going to have to wait to get these things? But the other thing is the price, and that's one of the reasons we have been talking about Silverhawks. So to get all of them, it's $220 for 4 figures, four 7-inch figures, $220. That is a pretty high price point, you know, in my mind. What are your thoughts on that, Dave?
Well, and see, that's my thing too. It's just like the Silverhawks. Like the Silverhawks toys look great. I mean, I would have loved to have bought them. I mean, that Snake Eyes figure, because he looks almost just identical to the first, like, miniseries, you know, the cartoon animated miniseries. Like that almost had me ready to pull out that plastic, you know, but
I will be very honest. I am very tempted on that original Snake Eyes, because that's what that is to me. That's the original Snake Eyes, and I am very tempted. But you know, do the math. $55. I'm not sure I'm that into it.
and that's the thing for me. It's just at $55. It's just, I feel like it's just a little bit too much. I mean, even for me, you know, and I do own. For example, I do own a couple of Hot Toys, for example. Hot Toys are not cheap, but I only own 2, and they were both gifts. You know, I have the Adam West Batman, which was a gift from my mom. And then I have the Michael Keaton Batman from Batman Returns, and that was actually a gift from my wife and actually a bunch of my friends. They surprised it for me with my birthday one year. And all my friends chipped in and bought it, because I told my wife that if I had to pare my collection down and get rid of a bunch of stuff, I said the one thing I'd love to have would be, you know, a couple of Hot Toys. I'd love to have one of Michael Keaton as Batman, and I've been really eyeing and lamenting, trying to pick up the Adam West Batman. So, and I've been slowly getting rid of a lot of my action figures over the last several years. Kind of slowly but surely. I still have probably too many, but I have been kind of slowly getting rid of a lot of them. But, you know, these look really great. I mean, I think if these were even more like, you know, $20 or $25, you know, sold, you know, I'd get that Snake Eyes for sure, you know. And it reminds me too, because I remember Hasbro at one point was even doing this too. They did this actually with the Master of the Universe line at one point. Like they started doing the little weird Filmation robots and all these characters that were actually in the cartoon that they never actually made toys of. But I think they were more in like the $20 to $25 range. But I think you had to be part of their collectors club. So I think that's how they were making that money off of those. But these look great, but I
don't think the Filmation ones were Hasbro. I think those were licensed, and it might have even been Super 7.
Oh, okay. I thought that was
because now they have. Well, now they have the classics, and those are in stores, right? You know, the Master of the Universe classics, and that's Hasbro. But I
Right.
know what you're talking about. They had the Filmation, the more cartoon accurate He-Man figures, and I'm almost 100% sure they were licensed. That might have even been Super 7 actually. But I don't remember the price point. But they weren't Hasbro.
Well, I'm talking about the ones that actually predated, actually, because they did some of those and those were in stores, but these actually predated even those. I don't remember who it was who did them, but for example, like I bought and I still own. I bought a few of those, and then my brother Ronnie actually got me quite a few of those too, and I still have the Battle Cat, He-Man, Man-at-Arms, Skeletor, and Beastman, because that was the original wave, the original first wave for Masters of the Universe. I still own those. But no, yeah, I just these look great. It's just like the Silverhawks. I would have bought all those Silverhawks figures. I would have really questioned it, but $55 each to me is just too high.
Yeah, it is a definitely a high price point, and that's what the biggest issue that I have with a lot of these, adult collector, type lines. James Posey had an interesting comment. The first part I'm not going to actually put up because I don't want to get in trouble, but he talks about China manufacturing has experienced a lot of shutdowns due to the ailment that has no name. So he says, trust me on that one. And he adds, plus the supply line is seriously delayed for manufacture there as well. So I'll definitely concede, James Posey, to you, as far as what might be going on with the supply line and manufacturing issues in China. But it's still frustrating, when you have to wait basically like a year, on a product to get it. It's kind of a bummer. It's kind of a bummer. I'd almost rather they just wait. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I mean, I guess the other route, you have a lot of people that are doing things like, Indiegogo campaigns, right? So is it kind of similar to that, a kind of similar situation? It kind of is, I guess, really, when it comes down to it. They're taking the pre-orders, gives them some indication of how much of the product they actually need to have. So I guess it makes sense. But then again, I like to go into a store and buy stuff. That's just the way I am. That's why I keep promoting the Kenner Marvel Legends line, because I like being able to go into a store, find something, and just buy it. I like the thrill of the hunt, and I enjoy doing that. And I like a low price point, because like the Kenner Marvel Legend figures are only $10 a pop, and they're brand new. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with this. Although I think these figures look really, really, really cool. And David Motz mentions, I would rather spend money on a G.I. Joe Classified series collection. Interesting, David Motz, because I've actually heard a lot of collectors, especially adult collectors, say they do not like the G.I. Joe Classified line. Like, they have a lot of problems with it. So if you're really into that line, I'd be interested to hear more about, what makes that line appeal to you so much. Although that is a line, again, that's available, at least most of it's available in stores, right? Because G.I. Joe Classifieds has exclusives too, right? They have like internet exclusives and store exclusives, and that's where I hear a lot of the discontent coming from. And then James Posey also mentions Hasbro, Mattel, and McFarlane have all done crowdfunding campaigns recently. And more, I feel like that might be the future. That might be the future, especially of adults toy collecting, when it comes to these smaller lines that are basically, not meant for mainstream, actual toys, not meant for kids. They're collectibles, or they're not even toys anymore.
Right. Right. And I'm hoping at some point we'll get the chance actually to talk to James actually on the show at some point actually about this, Eric, because James is actually has some very unique, specific knowledge relating to action figures. So I'm hoping we'll get a chance to talk to him hopefully soon. Actually,
that'd be
here
great.
On the show and a guest
I'm totally
capacity.
for it. I'm totally for it. So.
Yeah.